Spacey Sims, and we are back with more Hakuoki Kyoto wins in Iba's route. Yay! And we're like in the middle of chapter 4, I guess, and we were just chasing after Iba and company because other dude left his man purse. So we're gonna bring it back to him. Anyway, I'd found them at the entrance. Motoyama? And just as I was approaching them, Commander, I apologize for interrupting, but I have news for you regarding the Mimowaragumi. I have to pause that word so hard. Mimowaragumi. It's really long. That's what it is. Anyway. Yamazaki, who had come running from the opposite side of me, was speaking nervously. We were just discussing this. Fill us in. Yamazaki seemed unsure whether or not it was appropriate to reveal his information in front of Iba or me, as he nervously glanced toward us. But he made up his mind and spoke up. The sound is like skipping on. Weird. Could be my headset. Over the past few days, the Mimowaragumi have been behaving conspicuously. We have reports of them recruiting high-level warriors, and it looks as though they're preparing for a major conflict. Major conflict, huh? What do you think it's about, Yamazaki? Yamazaki was about to answer, then he stopped himself. He paused to think, then he finally spoke. It's like all of a sudden there's no background music, there's dead silence. And I was like, it's like, isn't that weird? You probably can't hear the music that much. And I'm also really confused as to why my headset is like... I'm sorry, I'm just listening because like it doesn't sound like it's... It sounds like it's a little skippy. It's weird. I don't know. It could just be my headset. I don't know. I'm under the impression that it's an assassination attempt, and the target is a high-profile one, if I'm not mistaken. Could it be... As Iba began to realize the implications, Hijikata perked up, and he began running. He must have been running towards the location in which Sakamoto was allegedly hiding. Yukamura, I'm going to report this to the chief. Please stay with the commander as a messenger. Yamazaki gave a big gulp. Hijikata had already taken off running. Surely he must have realized that I couldn't possibly run after Hijikata alone. Iba, after watching the events unfold in front of him, offered a solution. I shall take responsibility and protect her. I'll also do my best to stop Toshi. This is all for the best, right? Yamazaki seemed slightly relieved that such an immediate solution came forth. Yes, please. We don't have a moment to lose. Motoyama, relay the information you just heard. Okay, got it. Alright, let's go, Spacey. Okay. We looked towards one another and nodded. We were running in the direction toward which Hijikata had run off. Around us was the darkened streets of Kyoto. Oh my god, hold on. I had to unplug my headset and plug it back in. Somehow we found ourselves at... Omiya? Oh, but the place was filled with an assortment of people. That's Omiya. Omiya? Ryomo Sakamoto's hiding place. It's a soy sauce shop located on the opposite side of the Tosa Domain residence. He lives in a soy sauce shop. Jesus Christ, alliteration. It was so late, yet this place was still busy. I was getting a bad feeling of it all, so I spoke to a passerby to find out what was going on. Did something happen? Supposedly there's been a fight here, swords slashing everywhere. Someone got hurt. Iba turned around. Oh, Toshi. We found Hijikata a little distance away, and we ran towards him. What are you doing here? Ichiro's one thing, but you... Whatever, it's fine. It'll be good to have someone who can treat injuries, just in case something happens. Hijikata was muttering to himself. You'd be like, I came along as a messenger. Yeah, like, hold on a second. That's definitely my headset. That's pissing me. I don't think it's necessarily my headset so much as, like, the mic jack. I mean, the headset jack. I hope my microphone's not fucked up, but, like, the headset jack in my computer is, like... Because, like, the music is really annoying. I'm just gonna have to turn it down. Wait, hold on. Yeah, it's totally my headset jack. Fucked up. Okay, I'm gonna turn it down and just listen on my TV. Doesn't really matter if I can hear it. It's on my TV, so whatever. Toshi, look. I think that person's with the Tosa. Ibo is pointing towards a group of men dressed in samurai attire. Hold on, I'm gonna turn my thing up. They were commanding different civilians to make way as they tried to enter the store. Stay here, you guys. I'll check inside. Sounds good. Please be careful. Hijikata disappeared into the Omiya that was currently flooded with people. Omiya? Omiya. It's like hard, yeah. We had waited in front of the store for what felt like a long while. Toshi is taking a while. Hope nothing happened. Iba looked as though he were growing impatient as he cautiously gazed at the store. It had been almost 30 minutes since Hijikata had entered the store, but for us it felt like an eternity. Finally, Hijikata had emerged from the store. Toshi, how did everything go? Iba approached Hijikata timidly, but the latter looked very distressed. He didn't have to answer. From his silence, we could pick up the pieces for what had happened. Man, we never save real. Never. Even though he seemed bitterly disappointed, Hijikata began to open up. Seems like Sakamoto and Nakaoka were attacked. Who's Nakaoka? Nakaoka. Anyway. Sakamoto died on the scene. And Nakaoka, he survived, but judging by how he looked, probably not for long. Oh. Man, Ryoma dies in every single one, but he's one of our love interests, so, like, how the fuck is that gonna work? As Iba had suggested earlier in the evening, if Sakamoto were to be assassinated, then it would cause waves to ripple throughout the country. And it must mean Hijikata began giving orders while I stood there, having not the faintest idea of what to do. I'm going to stay here to check the perimeter. I don't want to linger since I'll probably look suspicious, but I can't shake the feeling something's off. Hachiro, sorry to put this on you. Could you take her back to the compounds? Understood. Let's go, Spacey. I nodded, and together Iba and I headed back towards the compounds. That's right, they frame Sano. They frame Harada, goddammit. Spacey, are you hungry? Would you like to get something to eat? No. Now that I was thinking about it, I hadn't eaten anything since the afternoon, but I couldn't bring myself to eat right now. It seemed like Iba picked up on that much, at least. Our conversation stopped, and our footsteps echoed through the dark, empty streetways. When we reached the Kamo River, Iba stopped walking. Oh, goddamn, he's pretty. How fucking pretty he is. He's like beautiful. I'm sure Kyoto will be up in arms now that Ryoma Sakamoto has been assassinated. The sincerity of his voice, given the current circumstances, made my body tense up. It was a little painful to imagine, but I was sure that he would be right in the near future. Are we going to war? Iba didn't answer immediately. We both watched as the moonlight hid behind the thick clouds above, and he stayed silent. I pressed on. Just like after the Ikeda Inn incident, when the Choshu attacked us. I wasn't too familiar with politics, but I felt the same anxiety now as I did back then. The Choshu became angry as a result of losing their retainer at Ikeda, so they attacked Hamabori Gate. Then, I knew something similar would happen. The uncertainty of it all made me feel so restless as we shivered in the cold Kyoto evening, but Iba continued to stay silent for a moment. This situation is a little different. Huh? Back then, the Choshu were tasked with protecting the Imperial Palace, so the Shogunate was victorious. Back then? Well, what about now? Iba seemed unsure on how he should answer, but then he decided to open up, even though his voice told me he didn't believe what he was saying. Because of the failure of the second Choshu expedition, the Shogunate's power is crumbling. They've practically handed the Choshu a reason to attack them tonight. And the Satsuma, were siding with the Shogunate during the Hamagori Rebellion, will likely back the Choshu and attack Kyoto. As Iba told me all of this, I became speechless. This happened so quickly. Our lives were changing. Iba sighed as if burdened by the suddenness of these changes, and he bit his lips tenderly. Kyoto may be at war once more. I don't know how many people will be able to fight by then. His words struggled to come out, as if encumbered by blood rising through his throat. What? No. I was surprised to hear Iba tell me all of this, and I began to panic internally. Iba, you're an official guard of the shogunate. Why would you think in such a way? He looked like he was fighting back tears, and he simply shook his head. It's not what you think. It's because I'm with the shogunate that I know all of this. Because the Choshu expedition was a failure, even the Tokugawa family domain is beginning to doubt the power of the shogunate. A Hatamoto, like me, or some of the lower-ranked vassals, aren't prepared for an actual war. So after all of this, I wonder how many vassals will come to the aid of the shogunate. I didn't know what I could say to Iba. I knew this was all tough for him to admit, especially because he was a bakushin. I don't know what that is. But even then, it must have been something that came from his gut instinct. What could I possibly say? I was glancing over to the guide, and I saw the last one, and I thought it said, "Don't worry about it, bro." And I was like, that's not the right answer. Don't worry about it, bro. Trust the Shinsengumi. You have the Shinsengumi. Aha. I saw the trust, and I'm like, wait, that's not what it says. Okay. Because it's, you have the Shinsengumi. Don't worry about it. I'm like, don't worry about it doesn't seem like the right one, even though it's better than, don't worry about it, bro. You have the Shinsengumi. I said this under the clear light of the radiant moon as it crept from behind the clouds. And the moon came out. Oh! What? What? It seemed as though my comment caught him off guard. Iba's eyes grew wide as he stared at me. I know this because I've been with the Shinsengumi after all this time. I'm positive that they would risk all of their lives to fight this war with you. No matter what happens, I trust them to fight until the bitter end. Which is terribly sad. Silence returned beside the flowing river. He looked at me with a worried expression, then he sighed and closed his eyes for a moment. You're right. Unlike earlier, this time it seemed like he was more at ease by the prospect. You're right. I'm sure Toshi will fight until the end. I sense great determination from all of them, something that lacks in the Bakushin. Perhaps this is why I find myself visiting them as often as I do. Of course, though, one of the reasons was because I wanted to see you. Iba laughed momentarily, then quietly turned to face the river again. Oh, he's so pretty. The Shinsengumi are likely closer to what it truly means to be a samurai than any of us. He seemed to glow with a lot of respect as he said this, and I nodded to agree. Eventually, silence returned between us, and the only sound was the flow of the river beside us. Iba stared deeply at the moon, which at this point had inched away from the clouds and shone brightly above us, causing the river to sparkle in kind. Hey, what's that thing floating up? Oh, look, it's Takeda! Spacey, get out of Kyoto as soon as you can. What did he say? His words shocked me, and I'd been told to leave the Shinsengumi out of personal concern before, but this time was different. This time these words were backed by conviction. I understand this is a complicated situation for you, as you're very loyal towards the Shinsengumi while you search for Kodo. I know it's hard to decide immediately, but I think you should leave as soon as possible. Through the urgency of Iba's voice, I could sense just how much he cared about me. Of course, he just said so himself earlier. But because he was so familiar with the internal politics of the shogunate, I knew he truly believed what he said would become of Kyoto. So I should have taken him for his word, but Look, I understand what may be holding you back, but this time it could cost you your life. If I could do anything in my power to prevent so, I would, but it's a promise I don't know if I can make or not. Or have you already forgotten about the time that I was almost killed by Takeda? I jumped at the thought. True, what he said may have had some merit. I'm fine, okay? I said so stubbornly, hoping he'd just drop it. What's fine? Although he wasn't raising his voice, I could still sense the coldness in his question. Perhaps he was becoming frustrated by my unwillingness to budge. Was he really irritated that I wouldn't just take his words at face value? I mean, most people are, especially when they're in love with you and they want you to trust them, and then you're like, nah, I don't trust you. It's basically like you saying you don't trust him. If I get hurt, I'll just recover quickly, so I'll be fine. Suddenly I remembered the moment in which Takeda called me a monster. Sure, I may be a little bit different from a normal human, but because of these powers, maybe I could be of some use to the Shinsengumi. Even I, without any battle experience, could do my part if the time ever came. It's not fine to me at all. Those were not the words I was expecting to hear from him. If you're going to be hurt, I'd rather be there in your stead taking the wound. Even if your cut's healed, the thought of you being hurt tortures me. I can't bear to see you in pain. More romance than anything. Jesus. But again, these were the ones that were added in after the fact. That's why we're getting more romance, So please, don't tell me it's fine if you get hurt. No matter what anyone says, you're just a normal girl. Oh. I could sense warmth welling in my chest as he spoke to me with such concern. I'd never expected him to care for me the way he did. I'm different than a normal girl. Like Takeda had said, I guess I couldn't blame someone for thinking I'm a monster. For Iba to see me for otherwise. Tears began to form as my cheeks flared up. The closeness of our relationship made me blush with emotion, and the intimacy of his kindness drew me in as I watched him smile warmly. I was able to tell him a secret all those years ago that I couldn't share with anyone else. Only him. I fought back the tears, and I shined the biggest smile I could to let him know how much it all meant. Thank you, Iba. I felt bad that I couldn't do exactly what he'd asked of me, but if something truly dangerous were to happen to me, I'll do as you say. He gave a small sigh. Boy, you sure do love worrying me, don't you? Fine. Then I'm going to protect both you and the Shogunate. After Iba sighed, he looked up again at the moon hovering above. Shortly after, his tone became a little more cheerful. Let's head back to the compounds now. I'm sure the both of us will be quite busy. And we returned to Fudoto village. After the assassination of Ryoma Sakamoto, the Shinsengumi were facing an even bigger situation. Yeah, because they think Harada did it. Oh. Before November ended, the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb, which was Ito's faction, had been undergoing serious internal strife. Saito had joined the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb as a Shinsengumi spy, and based on the intelligence report, the Shinsengumi had assassinated Ito. Aha! So we just totally skipped all of that. So that all happened, but we weren't there for that because we did a different path. So anyway, the attack on the Guardians eventually became known as the Aburano Koji incident. During this incident, the demons in the Sasuma intervened, and Heisuke had suffered a critical injury during the resulting altercation. In order for Heisuke to survive, he was forced to drink the serum. That time they did like Heisuke's mortal wound, and you're like, and then he took the point, and you're like, what the fuck, guys? Like, this is like he took a serious injury, and then he took the serum, and you're like, okay. I mean, we already know it, but seriously, scare us, right? At the same time, Chikage Kazama had planned and executed a coordinated attack on the compounds. The serum brought into the Shinsengumi by my father was now slowly eating out all of them away. My heart began sinking from the weight of all of this. I do like how they give you that, so like you don't actually have to, like you don't have to play that, like that, since they cut that scene out, because you went down a slightly different path, they give you the backup. I'll stay here. Nothing. I'm sorry for stopping you. Nah, we don't need to see Saito. We're not in love with him, so we don't need to go. Oh, Harada. Oh. He's such a sweetheart. Watch that path is just like so boring and sad. And you're like, but he seems like such a sweetheart. It's like he's holding us screaming because we get hurt. Oh no. Or he's in pain. I don't know. Chapter 5, guys, the last chapter. Reunited and it feels so good. It was the winter of 1867. That's because we're in the good ending. We haven't gotten the final chapter or anything yet, but you know that's where we are. It was the winter of 1867. The end of the year was approaching us. Eva had warned me not too long ago that I should leave Kyoto, but I had no time to make a decision. Kyoto's political climate had grown increasingly tense everywhere I looked. The threat of war looming ominously as the shogunate and Satsuma Choshu prepared their armies. As a precaution, the Shinsengumi was ordered to guard the Fushimi Magistrate, which is being fortified as a shogunate safeguard in Kyoto. Kondo joined an envoy en route to Fushimi Castle as part of a delegation to discuss key strategies when an attempt on his life critically wounded him. I don't think any of this chapter is going to be skipping, but we'll leave it on just in case. The assailant was a gunman, so we needed to perform urgent care on him immediately, and the captains waited anxiously for our updates. Yamazaki, any word on Kondo? His condition has stabilized a little, and he's asleep right now, but the wounds are more serious than we'd thought. However, we were able to extract the bullet. At the moment, this is all we can do for him. Our resources are limited here. Hijikata watched quietly, seemingly deep in thought, as he was listening to Yamazaki's report. Eventually, if it's a real doctor we need, Dr. Masumoto is currently residing at Osaka Castle. There's no telling when war will break out, so we should get him there while we still can. Hijikata hung his head low with a bitter expression, and Shimada bowed his head apologetically. I apologize. I should have done everything to protect the chief, even if it meant giving my own life. What are you talking about? The only reason why Kondo's not dead was because you busted your ass out there. However, no point dwelling in what could have been. All that matters now is for us to take action so his injuries don't worsen. I bet he won't like this, but we're gonna have to move Kondo over to Osaka Castle so we can recover in peace. While we're at it, send the sick one too. Hijikata's order made me gasp. Have you been talking about... What? Who are you referring to? You don't mean... Harada was a sharp one, so I'm sure that he'd been thinking about the same person as I was, Okita. Talking about Soji. He has tuberculosis. What? After seeing Okita get worse and worse over the past few months, I had a feeling that was the case. So Okita officially had tuberculosis. To my knowledge, the disease was incurable. Once you've contracted it, all you could do was rest, hoping that you could do whatever it took to stave the disease's progression until... Let's figure out how we're going to get both Kondo and Okita to Osaka Castle immediately. Hijikata, who was probably more worried than anyone here, seemed focused on the future, trying to find solutions even as things seemed grim. Given the circumstances, there was no way I could insert any of my own worries into the situation. On the contrary, it motivated me to do whatever I could to help them during this rough period. After a few days had passed, I was preparing the arrangements for Kondo and Okita's departure for Osaka Castle when... I'm wondering, okay, so I'm wondering if, like, let's just say when this was all one game, right? And you didn't have Iba and Ryoma and Soma's routes, right? You didn't have those 3 routes in there, so you just had the others. And Kyoto Rin's and Edo Blossoms. I'm assuming that the common chapters would have been chapters 1 through 4 then, and then chapters 5, and everything in Edo Blossoms would have been you're on their path, and it's different. You know what I mean? Because, like, I don't know. You know what I mean? That just seems the case. Because, like, usually when it's a fan disc kind of game, the second game in a series, you know, like Code Realize, you pick the person's path, and then you're on that person's path, and whatever happens, you know? But, and I don't know, I mean, I'm assuming maybe you get... So it's kind of weird how they broke this up. So then I'm just assuming you could have gotten technically bad endings. You know? So these low romance bad endings are basically just bad endings. You know, because there's never like a normal ending. Like, oh, is there a... No, there's bad ending and unrequited love ending. Those are the low romance kind of things. So those are technically bad endings if you think about it, right? In any game you play, you usually have, like, the true ending. Yeah, the normal ending, which is always fucking bad. And then you have bad endings. In this, you really only have 2 bad endings and the right ending. So I wonder if that's because, you know, your quote-unquote normal ending were just bland and boring. I don't know. Maybe you just never had one of those. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Just fan theorizing in my head. Nobody tell me. I'm going to leave it to when I get there. I'm just curious. But not curious enough for you to tell me. Don't tell me. Let's wait till November when we get there. It'll be like end of October, beginning of November by the time we get there. But anyway. Yukimura, a moment of your time. You have a visitor. Oh, sure. Please give me a moment. Iba, I quickly wrapped up their clothing into bags, and Shimada led me to the common room where I saw... It's not a common room, it's outside, but... Hello, Spacey. How are you? Iba, what are you doing here? I was assigned to guard Kondo on his trip to Osaka Castle from the Shogunate. At the moment, we're no longer Okuzume, but rather we have been reformed as the Ugeki unit? Ugeki unit? Yugeki unit? Okay. A pleasure to make your acquaintance. Yugeki unit. A unit made up of men from the Shogunate's martial arts dojo and his vassals. Okay, interesting. Yugeki unit? Yep, and since it's almost New Year's, I'd love to catch up with you. But now doesn't seem like the best time. He sighed lightly, and then Iba turned to face Hijikata. So, how has Kondo been holding up? He's regained consciousness, but his fever's still hot. Soji's in no shape to swing a sword either. I see. Iba bowed his head, closing his eyes for a brief moment. He too had shared a long history with Kondo. I'm sure he was worried about the possible outcome of Kondo's condition. However, he snapped back up as if preventing himself from ruminating on what could possibly be. All right, I'll assume full responsibility to ensure the two of them are escorted safely to Osaka Castle. Hijikata shook his head slowly. Oh, he's forcing me to go. Yes! No, not two. There's going to be 3 of them. 3? I wondered who the third person could be. It couldn't have been any of the captains, since all of them were needed at the magistrate. Why do you have that confused look on your face? You're headed to Osaka Castle, too. What? Me? I had absolutely no idea that I'd be going to Osaka, so naturally I was dumbfounded. But I'm not sick! I'm not dead yet! I think I'll go for a walk! I feel happy! I see. So because of her medical background, you want her to treat Kondo and Okita, is that it? Exactly. He's like, yeah, that. Sure. Really just want her out of my hair. Exactly. Since it looks like the Sasuma's going for it, Kyoto will be a war zone soon. This war will be huge. I don't want her to get sucked into all the bullshit going on. Oh, Hijikata, you love me. Hijikata's intentions were good, and what he'd said made sense, but I couldn't bring myself to nod in agreement. It looked as though Iba understood him, nodding in agreement to Hijikata's proposition. He's like, thank God. He hugs him, thank you, Jesus. But then he looked over to me as if he was hoping for me to say how I'd felt about the whole idea. How should I respond if those are the commander's orders? Yep, that's what we're supposed to say. Honestly, I had no desire to leave from the Shinsengumi with all that was going on, but if those are the commander's orders, I accept. As I gritted my teeth subtly, I was internally screaming from accepting an order I didn't want. Yeah, but you want to be with Iba, bitch. You're like, I'm just gonna stay here and go with Iba. Go with Iba. Come on. My heart sank like a heavy stone in my chest as the reality of leaving began to settle, because you're gonna end up dead. Not really, but... When Hijikata heard my answer, he closed his eyes, perhaps a little relieved, but then... Is that what you truly think? As usual, Iba seemed to see right through my intentions, and his question got right to it. Hey, Hachiro, don't confuse her. I'm not, but this is important. Iba had already impressed upon me the importance of escaping Kyoto as soon as I could. Considering his own duties, there was really no need for him to look after what I wanted. But even then, Iba had been watching out for me. The manner in which he'd acknowledged the position I was in and put what I wanted into consideration gave me the confidence to speak my mind. If I told either of you that I wasn't concerned about Kondo or Okita, I'd be lying. I think that having someone by their sides to treat and care for them is important. However, if war were to break out soon, as you suggest, then what will become of the others here? When I think about all the men who may suffer serious injuries here, it pains me to think that I'd be abandoning them all to leave for Osaka. After I spoke my mind, Iba's eyes twinkled kindly, and he turned to Hijikata. Yeah, he's like, she spoke her mind. The lady has spoken, Toshi. She's got a good point. There are many other experienced doctors to care for Kondo and Okita. And this may sound rude, but just because she's with them doesn't guarantee that their conditions will improve to the extent you want them to. More than anything, though, if I take her with me, she'll probably resent me. Hijikata curled his lips bitterly, and he let out a troubled sigh. Damn it. You let her get to you too, huh? That's adorable. Hijikata, I love you so much. You let her get to you too, huh? He's like, fuck, she's got us all wrapped around her fingers. Yeah, I know. All my fingers. I've got 10. I know there's 12 guys, but one of them's dead, right? Ryuma's dead. And the other one's a demon, so, like, fuck him. So we got the other 10. Wrapped around her fingers. They're like our little puppet men. Puppet men! I want little finger puppets of all of them so I can stick them on my fingers and be like, look at my little puppets! Could you just imagine? Like little chibi puppets. Little chibi finger puppets. It's almost as... Oh. I hear them too. Oh, buddy, you better go. They're coming for you. There's like, oh, that was a big murder. That's a big murder. They're coming for you. The murder's coming for you. It was a group of crows. Would have called them a flock, but they're not a flock. They're a murder, which is just really creepy if you think about it. But yeah, I couldn't really see him. I just saw them flying, but you could hear him in the background, and he hears them, and he's like, ugh. He's scared of them. I mean, I don't blame him. He's a bite-sized snack to them, and crows are scary to him. They're nice. Crows are smart birdies. Be nice to them, because they'll remember forever. Fucking things. I say fucking things, but it's like, that's pretty fucking cool, actually. Be nice to crows, because they'll heckle you forever. My dad used to hate the crows, because he'd be like, they heckle me. Because he'd, like, do things to try to, like, stop them from, like, getting and eating all the birdseed, but they'd still do it. And he's like, I swear to God, when I go out there to, like, feed the birds, they're heckling me. Because they'd be out there, like, cackling. It's kind of funny. Oh, it was cute. Anyway. You let her get to you, too, huh? We got in. We wormed our way into all your kimonos. But, nothing. Fine. Guess I just can't win with Edo women. Oh, look at the look on his face. He's like, I so fucking love you, but you're gonna fuck my best friend. Yeah, all of them. Every single one of them. Oh, Spacey needs to stop. You may be right there. You know, Toshi, other than the women of Hino, I never thought I'd meet a woman who could break you down. Hino, Kondo in Hijikata's hometown. Hey, shut it. Hijikata thinned his eyes at Iba, and Iba simply laughed it off. However, Hijikata's tone shifted back to a serious one. Well, even if those hot-headed Susumu are gearing up for war, Shogunate's not looking for one. As long as we don't fall for their bait, I don't think the war's gonna happen. Oh, sweetie. Oh, honey. Oh. Pats on head. You're too pretty to be this stupid. Wait. Normally, you're so pretty, I'm not surprised, but you're smarter than this, sweet cheeks. But even if fighting breaks out, the Susumu only have so much men. I have faith we'll be fine. Oh, poor baby. Faith ain't gonna get you nowhere. Hijikata's expressed confidence in the Shogunate's odds, but... Right. Iba's answer vexed me. Usually Iba trusted whatever Hijikata said and responded with a smile. But this time, not even Iba's handsomeness could hide the lines of worry in his face, and he tried to play it off. In all seriousness, Toshi, please take good care of her. Spacey, make sure you follow any orders Toshi or anyone else from the Shinsengumi gives you. Of course. Alright, well, let's prepare Kondo and Okita for Osaka now. Can you lead me to them? Oh, yes, of course. Please, come this way. I led Iba to where Kondo and Okita had been resting. Okita, how are you feeling? Can you walk? What do you think? Man, such a prick. Right, you can't. Here, let me give you my shoulder. Put your arm around my neck. Now some pussy who can't even swing a sword is carrying me? Jeez, what a low I've sunk to. I can't believe Okita just called him a pussy. Okita struggled to breathe, continuing to cough painfully as he was taken outside. Then Kondo, too, was moved from the building. He looks fine! Give me a break! You were shot. They should be carrying you on a stretcher. You're walking? The fuck? You're fine, dude. Get out there and fight. Stop being a bitch. At least Okita was putting on a show. Can't say I've experienced many regrets, but I guess there's a first for everything. When Lord Taiju needs me more than ever. Yeah, I'm injured and unable to help. Don't worry, just take it easy. I'll make sure everyone's safe while you're gone. Hijikata assured Kondo confidently, then Kondo seemed to relax a little from his words. Aw, he's taking care of you. Because you're like his best friend. You're one of his besties. You're like his dad. Even though you're probably not much older than him, but still. You're like everybody's dad. Well, yeah, no. And in a way, everybody's grandpa, even though, again, he's probably literally only a few years older than them. Everybody's grandpa. I'll leave the rest to you, Toshi. Hijikata nodded his head deeply. After we watched the... It's Yugeki. Yugeki. But I can't. It's weird. Unit carry the two of them out. Iba turned to face me one last time to ask me a question. You're sure you want to stay? Without any hesitation, I nodded my head. No, I want to go with you, but this bitch won't let me leave. I want to be with you! Damn it! Spacey! Yes, this is the path I chose. Iba's eyes sparkled, and he seemed like there was something he wanted to say, but instead he thinned his eyes. But I'll miss you. As a cool breeze blew against the background of sunset, Iba closed his eyes slowly. We paused for a moment, basking in the silence. Then he spoke softly, practically to himself. If I had my wish, I'd have you with me, even if it meant by force. But if I did so, I know you'd regret it forever. You'd hold it against him forever. All I could do was stare at the ground. I knew that my decision had hurt someone very close to me. I wasn't so oblivious that I couldn't see how what I wanted was against what he wanted. Toshi said this earlier, but the Satsuma Choshu will do whatever they can to bring down the Tokugawa clan. I have no delusions that it'll become war. Iba had warned me of this back during the Onomiya incident, yeah, something like that. Anyway, close enough. What do you think the chances of victory are? That's uncertain. Based on numbers, the Shogunate army should. But the outcome of war can't be predicted by numbers alone. Iba expressed an anxiety of his in the past, that the Hatamoto and Shogunate vassals were in no way prepared for serious conflict, and Shogunate had experienced such defeat during the second Choshu expedition. Iba suddenly grabbed a hold of my hand, and he drew me closer to him, almost forcefully. Promise me you won't die. If you ever believe yourself to be in danger, run. Do whatever it takes to survive. I shouldn't have listened to you. I should have taken you with me to Osaka Castle today. Promise that I'm making the right choice in letting you stay here, that I don't have to worry about you. Oh. His hands quivered as they clasped mine. As children, we'd held hands numerous times. When he would read to me, I remember thinking about how soft and delicate his hands were. And now, even as we've grown up, his hands were still giving me great warmth and comfort. I must do whatever it takes not to break his heart. As we neared our goodbyes, my heart felt heavy with anticipation of missing him. I promise you that I'll never do anything to hurt you, Iba. Oh my God, guys! As I gave him my promise, he shared with me the same familiar smile I had grown to admire. Okay, remember, you promised. Then almost painfully, he released my hands, and so he left with Kondo and Okita. As I watched him leave, I spoke to him internally. Thank you so much, Iba. I vow to keep my promise no matter what. So please, be safe as well. As the winds carried the dead leaves around my feet, I stood there, watching Iba leave until the small of his back disappeared into the horizon. Well, if we were on the low romance bad ending or the bad ending, well, the bad ending, we're going to die. The low romance one, he's going to die. Or he's going to just be like, whatever, and hate us. I don't know. He's probably not going to kill us like Okita would, but... Come, if I see your face again, I'll kill you. That's not nice. That's still the most painful one. Like, all the other ones, they died, or they were just like, okay, bye. But, like, that was the boy who threatened to kill us. He really hated us, guys. It wasn't just like, okay, whatever, cool. We're cool, bro. And you're like, I love you, and oh, you died, or you're missing, or I'm just your pal. Like, Hajime being like, you should stay here, and then leaves, and you're like, oh. That Okita one still rips my heart out. It's like, oh, he threatened to kill us. He hates us. A seething hatred. It's the worst. January 3rd, 1868. Almost a month had passed since the Shinsengumi was tasked with guarding the Fushimi magistrate. Tensions were still brewing between the Shogunate and Satsuma Choshu armies. Our enemies attempted night raids and instigated small skirmishes, doing everything they could to provoke the Shinsengumi into retaliation. As it seemed both sides were coming to a point, it only took one gunshot for war to break out. It's probably the demon dude. Ah! I'd heard a thunderous explosion outside as if the sky fell and crashed into all of Kyoto. I hope no one I knew was hurt. Please, anyone out there, stay safe. I clasped both of my hands tightly and I began to pray to myself for hope. Then I felt a soft hand tap my shoulder with the tip of its fingers.
Everything will be alright. Do not worry. I'm sure our allies will return safely in no time. This is similar to how Ikeda went, remember?
You are so gonna die! I'm so sorry, Grandpa. In a way, I knew that he was trying to comfort me so that I'd remain calm, but the hellish sound of gunfire from the outside, without any idea of what was going on, made it difficult to think about anything else. I mean, literally, he's like, what, 35 max? 40? Like, in this game, and it's like, Grandpa! Oh my god. If that, because, like, let's say, even if she's, like, 18 right about now, right? So the other one's 20, yeah, he's, like, 35. Like, he's more like, Grandpa! It's the bald head, it really is. It's like, I don't know. Anyway. The hellish sound of gunfire from the outside without any idea of what was going on made it difficult to think about anything else. I think we read that, but doesn't this worry you in a way? The Shinsengumi men have been fighting alongside you for years. Since Ito, too. Inoue gave me a kind smile, tilting his head slightly as he answered.
I would be lying if I said I wasn't worried. However, everyone has roles to play, and in times like these, lives will be threatened.
I can't do his voice right anymore. It's like, it sounds crazy.
That's why, for now, it's best not to panic and act rashly. Instead, we must wait until such a time comes. Or at least that's how I see it.
Everyone has roles to play. Inoue had a way with words that subdued my anxieties, even as I grew more nauseous. I wasn't sure if it came off that way to him, but I was becoming almost sick with worry. Thank you, Inoue. I think I understand what you mean. Everyone has roles to play. I guess for me, that meant my role was to treat whoever was injured in this tumultuous time. After all, I was the one who decided to stay back, so I must do everything I can to support them. Oh, my shoulders are tense. Hi, bird. Just then. Hey, it's other future boyfriendo. Ahem. We don't have a voice for him. We really don't have a voice for him. Because we've given Iba the kind of just normal dude voice. Harada kind of has a normal voice, but a little more peppy. And, like, we don't have a voice for him. Like, I don't really freaking know. We gotta start doing accents. We really should have started doing accents with this. Start giving him a southern twang. Yukamura, is there anything I can help you with? I can't do that. I cannot do that to him. But I'm just saying, we're gonna have to go down this route where somebody's gonna have to have accents. Oh my god. Anyway, we're just gonna, like, normal. Yukamura, is there anything I can help you with? Soma, who had recently joined the soldiers defending Kyoto, was nervous as he asked. Of course, let's prepare a treatment station. Can you please fetch some water from the well? Got it. Be right back. Soma sprinted towards the well. We're like, got it. Be right back, dude. Yo, is there anything I can help you with? Like, guys, I'm so freaked out. I mean, that's sort of the Impei voice, but just like, way more chill. I took some pot this morning, man. Oh, sorry, my eyes. I'm just rubbing them. Oh my god. They're pretty. Okay. So for now, I need to fold my clean cloths, and I need to find some needles for stitches, too. As I was making a mental list of necessary supplies... Oh, hello. God damn it! We just passed New Year's Day and now all hell's breaking loose? Are they even really Japanese if they won't let us eat our 7-herb porridge in peace? 7-herb porridge. Rice porridge containing the 7 herbs of spring. Japanese parsley, shepherd's purse, Jersey cudweed, chickweed, kuni tabaraco, turnip, and daikon radish. Dude, I got parsley out of that, and then the rest of it just makes no motherfucking sense. That's some interesting herbs. Okay. Well, even during the whole incident in Ikeda, they interrupted the Yoayama of the Gion Festival? Gion Festival, yeah. Yoayama, a festival that takes place before the main Gion Festival. I don't know what any of those festivals are. Okay. Soon after, warriors that I'd seen leave the magistrate to fight were being rushed in for treatment. From what I'd seen, the fighting must be horrible. The soldiers were covered in soot from head to toe. Hey, is everyone safe? We're not your concern. Tend to the wounded. Right. You are my concern. I love you, you bastard. I would just go smack him. Stop it. Shut up. You are my concern. Slap. Seriously, I just want to go up and slap him. Damn it, Saito. You are my concern, God damn it. You're one of my boys. You are my number one. You were my first. As Saito had ordered me, I was looking after the maimed men that seemed to pour in. Okay, this may sting a little. Luckily, many of the men I was treating didn't have life-threatening injuries. At least I could take solace in this, and I approached Nagakura to ask him something. Any word on how the war's going?
Well, can't say it's going well.
Huh, but from what Hichikata told me, the Shogunate forces were well armed and more than enough to handle the Satsuma Choshu in Kyoto. See, as far as numbers go, we're on top of it, but the Satsuma Choshu have these new guns that shoot further than anything I've ever seen. As soon as we get close, boom, we're dead. To make it worse, they can fire so quickly that our men can't even wait for them to be reloaded. No. I knew that despite the bad news Nagakura and Harada were sharing with me, there had to be some good news happening somewhere from them, or elsewhere from them. But even so, it seemed like the Shogunate was experiencing a tougher fight than they anticipated. It's true that the situation appears rather negative. However, I do not believe the commander would lead our men to defeat. Exactly. We just gotta have faith in his intelligence.
Yep, for now we just gotta keep on rallying the men who can fight. Right, Sano? Back me up.
You know it, man. I got your back. They're so adorable. The men spoke with such fearlessness, as if today were just any other day. Strangely, though, it only served to worsen my anxiousness for what's to come. Afterwards, Nakakura, who volunteered to lead a troop to charge straight through the enemy's front line, was growing more disenchanted. The Shogunate army had 15,000 men. The Satsuma Choshu had less than a third of that, and yet the momentum seemed to be on their side. As the war continued, it wasn't only the Fushimi magistrate that was experiencing harsh fighting. See? That's because they're like, let the foreigners in, and we're all, no, foreigners suck. Well, the foreigners brought weapons. So, well, I can understand why you think foreigners suck. Because you were like, we were perfectly fine until you brought in your shooty things. Your goddamn fucking...
And your cannons and shit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Well... So, I don't know. For the side with the foreigners, that's really awesome. For the side that hates the foreigners, that's another reason I hate the foreigners. I'm just saying. Based on the reports piling in from the fronts, the Shogunate and Satsuma Choshu troops were clashing everywhere men were stationed. This included the Ugeki unit, with whom Iba was affiliated around the Yodo domain. I could only imagine where the man who lamented the very idea of war coming to fruition could be at a time as frustrating as this. Was he away from the fighting? Was he hurt at all? Iba, please stay safe. So sweet. The scent of gunpowder stung my nostrils, and I watched the sky darken above. 2 days had passed since the fighting broke out. January 5th, 1868. Ah! The frequency... Ugh! It was more like... Arg! Aug! Auga! That's more like an old-timey car horn, but anyway, the frequency of the cannon fire confused me as to whether they were approaching us or if they were celebrating their victory prematurely. All I knew was the cannon fire became non-stop. Several warriors lying injured in bed jumped from the frightening sounds.
Well, what the hell was that? Don't tell me the building's coming down!
It's all right, everyone. There's no need to worry, so please just rest. I'd made attempts to comfort the warriors as they began to panic, but then... Ugh! It sounded like the cannons were cracking the building, into the building directly, bursting through the walls. Aye! Eek! It wasn't an eek, it was an aye! That's more fun. The cannon fire was crumbling the roof above, and in the moment, I prepared for it to crash on top of me and kill me. But then... You alright, Spacey? I heard a familiar voice. Aww. Aw, look at our ghost boys. They're like albinos. Ice Skate, Sun, and Two. It must have been because the sun was rising, but the two had returned from their night raid. So, how is it out there? Sanen's brow furrowed, silently shaking his head. We were able to move undetected, sabotaging several cannons in their encampments. But we don't have enough Furies out there. It's going to be impossible for us to turn the tide. Oh, no. If our captain's swordsmanship and our Fury Corps combined weren't enough, then... Perhaps this is it. As Sanen muttered his cynical musing to himself, cannon fire rang in the background. Suddenly... Footsteps. Suddenly. Wait for it. Wait for it.
Yukimura, are you safe?
Hijikata, Inoue! You guys were looking out for her, huh? Thanks, San and Heisuke. Hijikata nodded his head to the two men, and Sana remained stoic, offering no greeting. Although it pains me to admit this, Hijikata, I think it's clear the way this war will end. The Fury Corps has been fulfilling its role to the extent that it can, but considering that they're besting us at every turn, it's becoming hopeless. Hijikata bit his lips, balling his hands into a tight fist as his comrade shared his opinion. Hijikata's display made each of us aware just how frustrated, how hurt he must have been. In the past, Hijikata always seemed 2 steps ahead on the battlefield with his courageousness and his intelligence. So seeing him even entertain the idea of defeat seemed like something that was impossible for a man of Hijikata's experience to swallow. But eventually... if it were just me, I'd fight until the very end, no matter what happened. But you're leaving me no choice here. The words seemed to cause him pain as they left his mouth, and he turned to face the captains. All troops retreat. San and Heisuke, back us up at the rear, yeah? Of course. It's as good as done.
Yeah, leave it to us.
I couldn't just sit and listen to them as they prepared to move into action. Is there anything I can do to help? Hijikata shot me one of his glances that seemed to indicate to me that he was annoyed. Sana, on the other hand, paused for a moment before answering my question. Well, I do have one favor to ask of you, Yukimura. We in the Fury Corps will be engaging with the enemy forces to ensure the safe retreat of our comrades. In the meantime, I'd like you to gather all documentation about the Furies and deliver it to Osaka Castle with Inoue. About the Furies? Yes, many sacrifices have been made in the effort to improve what's known about the Furies. And this would all be for naught should the documents land in the hands of our enemies. I gulped at the thought. I had many horrible feelings toward the serum brought into the Shinsengumi by my father. Understood. I'll protect them with my life. Okay, I'll count on you. All documentation of little consequences will be burned by me here. In other words, what I'm entrusting to you in Inoue to transport is the actual process, an ingredients list for the water of life. A sparse document, mind you. Sana was communicating to me that there could be no mistakes. This was irreplaceable. My legs began trembling as I began to consider the burden of responsibility Sanan placed on me. I looked Sanan straight in the face and I nodded. Got it. Oh no. Then, if you kindly follow me, I need to give it to you before this whole building collapses. They should have destroyed all the other papers before now, but... We'd walked down the hallway, walls rumbling from the cannon fire, and Sanan handed me the document before Inoue and I left for Osaka, but Inoue's gonna die! The amber sun was setting from the smoky sky. Since we'd been retreating with many injured Shinsengumi warriors in tow, it was difficult to move quickly, and we were pressed for time. Inoue, do you think everyone else made it out safely?
Pay those thoughts no heed. When we make it to Osaka Castle, we'll see them all again. You have not forgotten what I told you the other day, right?
No, I haven't. Everyone has their role. So no matter what, all I could do was be patient and prevent myself from acting rashly.
As the sun sets, it will become more difficult for enemy soldiers to aim their guns. Only a little while longer.
Walking on unpaved roads, I nodded to Inoue. Just then, the echo of nearby gunshots startled me and I gulped. Inoue ducked down, hiding behind a tree to get a better view of our surroundings.
Those uniforms, they're Satsuma Choshu men.
Of course they are, because we don't have guns. This confirmation made me grip the bandana on my waist tightly as my hair stood from fear. Harada had mentioned how these new guns could fire from an even further distance than usual. If we were caught, we'd be done for.
We're going to have to make sure they cannot see us.
Right. Inoue whispered softly, and we hid in the shady bushes as we waited for the men to pass. Inoue, where are we? As he left the main road to hide from the enemy patrol, Inoue and I had found ourselves separated from the rest of our convoy. During our initial escape, a warrior had told us that other domains were joining the war. Domains that had previously declared neutrality were now siding with the Satsuma Choshu to kill off any shogunate men, including leadership.
I believe we're not too far from Kyoto, but...
Kyoto? If I remember correctly, Iba's Ugeki unit, It was close by. Was Iba still safe? Was Iba still safe? Just then, I was like, what are we waiting for?
Hey, someone is approaching. Yukamura, hide.
I hid in the shadows just as Inoue had commanded me to. A few moments later, I heard a tap of footsteps, and a shadow soon followed after. It's our dad. Who could it be? From what I can make out, it looked like a monk. Or it could be a doctor? But what would they be doing out here? As the shadow grew closer, the person's features became a little clearer. Then I gasped. It was... Father? As the word left my mouth, I froze, watching in disbelief to what was happening before me. There stood Father, whom I'd been searching for all this time. Koto Yukamura. As he heard my voice, Father slowly turned around.
That voice? Is that you, Spacey? Are you there, child?
I had longed to hear his familiar voice for so long that I'd almost cried. Oh my god, Spacey, you're a dumb fuck.
You shouldn't have said anything. Inoue told you to hide.
Inoue, would it be alright if I showed myself to my father? I turned to Inoue, asking for permission despite the possible threat of enemies nearby. However, Inoue's eyes thinned as if he were still suspicious. But then,
Let him know that you're safe.
he kindly obliged me, bowing his head. He's like,
I don't trust him. It's a little late now.
I nodded back to Inoue, sharing with him a momentary grin before I walked out of the bush.
He's like, don't let him know I'm here, though. I'm going to stay hidden.
Father, is that really you? At long last, it was him. I was flushed with so much emotion that it made me lightheaded. Father smiled brightly, and it seemed like he almost choked up as he greeted me. This is where Inoue's gonna die. He's gonna try to protect us.
Ah, it's been a long time, Spacey. My, how beautiful you've become.
The only response I could muster was the slow shake of my head. Words struggled to come out. At some point, I honestly started to believe that I would never see him again. But there he was, right in front of me, looking as healthy as I wished he would be.
Oh, fuck. Inoue can't hide now, bitch. You ruined it! You killed us both! The man with you, over there. You're Inoue from the Shinsengumi, yes? Thank you for guiding my daughter all the way here.
Please, no need to thank me.
Inoue also seemed relatively happy to see that I was reunited with my father. They're like old man twinsies, except for Inoue's got like a square jaw and her dad's got like a pointy, like triangular jaw. Whatever. What are you doing here? Where were you all this time? Father's expression became glum. His eyes tenderly gazed into mine.
It was my fault for not sending you a letter after all this time. You see, I was taken captive to some place far, far away.
Taken captive? Lies. The horrible image of someone taking my father as a prisoner made me flinch. But Father continued on, describing his journey without going into great detail.
I had heard that you were being held captive by the Shinsengumi, Spacey. I've come in search of you, my child.
Lies, Manelli. Lies, Liza Manelli. Lies, lies, lies!
I was so worried. What if you were caught up in all this needless violence and someone would hurt you?
You're the one trying to hurt me. Father, as he recounted his story, I could feel the anguish he must have been experiencing. No, because he's going to try to sell you to the demon dude to be like a breeding mare. Brood mare. He just wants to... No! I didn't want him to worry anymore. There was so much I needed to ask him. So much I've been wondering all this time. Now, Father, let's go to Yodo Castle. Yodo Castle. The Shinsengumi has men there, and I'm sure they'll keep us safe from the Satsuma Choshu troops. In response, however, my father shook his head slowly.
Unfortunately, I have no intention of going to Yodo Castle. Actually, you won't be going either.
Father? What Father said it seemed a little strange, and his tone became stern, confusing me somewhat. If he were an ally of the Shinsengumi, surely he would seek to rejoin them, or contact the Tokugawa clan for aid. So why... Then it hit me. Father had said he was taken captive to someplace far, far away. So how did he have any idea that I'd been staying with the Shinsengumi all this time? The pieces weren't adding up, and the sense of unease worried me so much I began to back away.
Just what are you trying to say?
Inoue stepped in front of me, guarding me as he seemed to pick up on the inexplicable strangeness. I just want to put my hand on Inoue's shoulder right now and be like, I'm sorry, bro. Pretty sure this is where you die. You've been a real peach. Shoulder punch. Gentle. You just give him a little hug. Hug with a Quick back tap. Okay. Take one for the team anyway. I'm really sorry about this. I'm really probably gonna cry. I feel sad every time he dies. It kills me. It's like, why? Why can't you just let Inoue live? Then Father's tone became completely cold, one which was completely alien to me.
Do I have to spell it out for you? I'm telling you that I refuse to let my daughter return to the Shinsengumi.
A haunting chill crept down my spine. I don't think I'm giving Koto the same voice every single time. It's totally different, but I couldn't put my finger on it, but it was there. This wasn't the father I knew. Just then. I like the just then. I sensed someone was standing behind me. As I turned around, I saw. Hey, 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 hey. Why does he got two arms? Also, it almost looks like that one's bandaged in like a claw, doesn't it? Like, look at, okay, it's our left, but it's his right arm. Doesn't it look like bandages, and doesn't it look like it wraps around into like a claw hand? Like, oh dear. Did they pick up his arm and put it back on? That's fucking creepy, man. Takeda? It was Takeda, the Shinsengumi's former captain of the 5th Division, but he's dead. Inoue's eyes widened incredulously at the sight, yeah, right?
Takeda, I heard that you had passed away after suffering a serious stab wound. You're alive?
Yes, I'm alive. Thanks to that old man, I've been saved.
What?
Oh god, he's like a fury. Father had saved Takeda's life? A man who called me a monster? Who threatened to reveal all of the Shinsengumi's secrets was working with my father? He must have been the one who informed my father of my involvement with the Shinsengumi. As I attempted to make sense of all this information, Father seemed ambivalent to my reaction, smiling straight at me. He looked shady as fuck, right? Then he reached his hands out to me, the same hands that used to comfort me as a child.
Now it's time for you to come with me, Spacey. Nothing can hold you back now.
I couldn't bring myself to accept his hand as easily as I would have in the past.
Yukimura, can you trust Kodo?
Inoue whispered discreetly to me. No! Before I left for Kyoto, and before I had met everyone in the Shinsengumi, taking Father's hands wouldn't have required a second thought. However, I was far too bothered by something to not be suspicious by all of this. More than anything, too, San and Heisuke Hijikata and the rest of the Shinsengumi had placed their faith in me. As it stands, I trust in the men of the Shinsengumi far more than I trust my father. Inoue smiled kindly to my response, and it was in that moment that I'd made up my mind.
I see. Thank you.
Yeah! Then he reached his hand to grip the sword on his waist, unsheathing it with a quick movement.
I'll handle this from here. Time for you to go on ahead.
His words slunk heavily as if there was some finality to them, and it made me nervous. It was as if he didn't expect to come back with me eventually. In a way, I anxiously called out to him, my voice shaky, but he looked at me with tired eyes, grinning once more. He knows. Please don't watch him die, Spacey. Just run. I can't watch him die again.
Worry not. Despite how I may look, I'm still a Shinsengumi captain too. I'll buy you some time. Despite how old I seem, I'm only 32. I'm only 27.
Excuse me, old man. What? I'm not old.
I forget the age. I'm only 26. 27. Or is it 37? I don't know. In Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
You there, old man. Man? I'm 37.
Exactly what I feel like right now.
The closest regiment in our surroundings is the Yugeki unit around Kyoto. If you can make your way to them, Iba should be there.
I gasped. Iba! Promise me you won't die. If you ever believe yourself to be in danger, run. Do whatever it takes to survive. I shouldn't have listened to you. I should have taken you with me to Osaka Castle today. He wasn't standing there when this happened, though. We were in front of the Fushimi Magistrate's office.
Stop being fucked up, game.
Promise that I'm making the right choice in letting you stay here. That I don't have to worry about you. I made a promise to Iba. A promise that he wouldn't have to regret his trust.
Now go. Fulfill what was asked of you.
I understand. I understand. There was no way I could be okay with abandoning Inoue, but if I wished to fulfill my duties for the Shinsengumi and honor the trust Sanin placed in me, this was the only choice I had. Understood. I couldn't even look Inoue in the face as I answered him, so I kept my head facing the ground. However, I kept myself from crying as I continued to speak. I'd look him directly in the eye and be like, got it. And meanwhile, stab, stab, we're both dead.
Good girl. I cannot let you risk your life here. If you were to die right now, there's no telling how much Iba would come to resent me.
I knew that Inoue had said so jokingly, but the unspoken alternative made me want to cry. There were simply no words to say in return. Inoue had pointed the tip of his katana towards Takeda and my father.
Now go, Yukimura.
I have to say something. I began to realize that this could be the very last time I see Inoue for as long as either of us live. I'd opened my mouth, and it was agape as I struggled to find anything meaningful to say. Then Inoue screamed at me, turning the pit of my stomach inside out.
I said go!
I shut my eyes tightly, and I turned around to run away. Bye, Inoue! You're the man, Inoue! Then, promise me that we'll meet back at Osaka Castle. I'll be waiting. With that, I'd broken into a sprint away from them. But now they know where I'm going. They probably already knew. Inoue told me the other day that everyone has their role to play in times of war, that we couldn't afford to be impatient. Now I think I finally hit the time Inoue had been talking about. There was no reason for people to die needlessly when they still have a purpose to serve. Under the blood-red sky, I repeated this sentiment over and over again to push myself, one leg after the other, through the mountainous pain. Oh, this is a perfect place to end. There you go. I know, I'm a dick, but wow, woohoo! I'm thinking we're gonna get one more part. We have one more choice left in this chapter, and then we have to do like the bad endings and stuff like that. So we'll see what happens. I don't know, one, maybe two parts. This one's actually long. This one's longer than the others, but that's because there's so many scenes with Iba that we, never got to because we never saw him. So I have a feeling that might be the case for like Ryoma and Soma because we never really see them either. And because they were additives after the fact. Like, I mean, I think the characters existed, but you know what I mean? Like, they never, like, you didn't have the romancy path, so they kind of had to add story stuff in there. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap this part up here, and we will see if we get another 1 to maybe 2 parts. I don't know. We'll see. I'll see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.